This week on the StressLess Camping RV Podcast,
we welcome Brooks Smothers from RV Out West.
He shares some favorite places in the Pacific Northwest.
He has got some great hidden gems that make us want to visit the Pacific Northwest even more than we did before.
We're also going to take you on a date of sorts. It's a pretty sweet situation.
And our own trailer is getting some maintenance, which reminds us to share this important tip with you.
We have this week's podcast along with the notes and stories to go with this episode, as well as discounts, deals, and helpful tips and more on our home on the web at StressLessCamping.com.
Hey, don't forget to like and share, and thank you for joining us for StressLess Camping Podcast number 316. I'm Tony.
I'm Peggy.
And we're two RV industry veterans who travel part-time
in a Rockwood Mini Light,
looking to share big adventures and help you with great tips,
tricks,
and discounts.
We remembered last week, and I remembered again this week, that we have some history stories to tell you.
Yeah, we had kind of found some great information about the history of camping. So this week, we're going to brighten your day with the history of the camp lantern.
So it's pretty short, really. Apparently, there hasn't been a lot of...
There's not a lot of illuminating information.
Since 1905.
Whoa!
When W.C. Coleman developed the liquid fuel lantern with a small base tank that's pressurized with a hand pump.
It offered campers a safer, more enjoyable experience with brighter illumination and no sooty smoke.
And... well, that's it. The same principle is still in use today, but with factory pressurized fuel bottles replacing the pump. Over the years, though, battery-powered lanterns have joined the mix and utilize brilliant LEDs for exceptional energy efficiency.
Did you have one of those Coleman lanterns growing up?
I did. You had to pump
you had to pump it, and then those mantles is like, don't touch them, and all. And, oh my gosh, they were fiddly. I appreciate the nostalgia.
I have tied a lot of mantles
oh
in
my
my
gosh,
day.
right? Yeah. And then that sound, like you couldn't, you're in the tent and you hear this.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was also a source of warmth, really.
Yeah. Since the camp lantern was so short, let's keep using that white gas.
Yeah.
And go and look at the camp
Let's
stove.
figure out what else W.C. Coleman invented.
Yeah.
Before this, a crackling campfire was what was associated with camping and the only kind of smoky, sooty, ash-laden way to cook meals and boil water.
Yeah. Until 1942, at the midpoint of World War II, the Coleman Company responded to the Army's urgent request to develop a compact stove for battlefield use.
The resulting single-burner stove can burn any kind of fuel, function at minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Who wants to even function in those temperatures anyway? It weighs 3.5 pounds, and it's smaller than a 1-quart milk bottle.
Yep, and along with the Jeep, it's considered one of the two most important pieces of non-combat equipment from World War II.
Wow. After the 1950s, the Coleman Army stove evolved into the familiar one that we have today. Fold up 2 or 3 burner stoves. You see it around all the campsites. Other manufacturers have, of course, adopted the pressurized fuel concept, and there are several variations on the basic design. But again, nothing's really changed significally since it was invented.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it works, don't fix it, right? Or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, it's funny, when we went tent camping, we don't even have one of those stoves anymore. I think you gave it to Michael, right?
I know I gave it away because we have our electric
we have our
cooktops.
induction cooktops and portable power stations. So
we don't need to worry about carrying fuel.
Or open flame or pressurizing fuel. But if the battery ain't charged, you ain't getting a lot.
Oh, speaking of batteries.
Yeah. As you all know, if you're a regular listener, we are big fans of our Master Volt power system from ABC Upfitters. And since the last time when we came home and parked, we just leave the refrigerator running. As long as it doesn't run out into the street and get hit by a car.
That's right.
But the refrigerator's running, we have food in it, and the trailer's basically, in fact, we took it to have some work done on it today. Maintenance. And there's food in the fridge.
Yeah, maybe if they get hungry, they'll eat a snack. We do. We keep kind of some things that we don't, maybe we're going to have to run out from the house and pick them up. But mostly it's stuff that we know we're going to need next time, some frozen vegetables and stuff like that.
But that battery and lithium system is just so reliable. We just know the fridge is out there humming away and doing fine. And you can get ABC Upfitters to build you a system that'll do anything from run the fridge for a few days to run the air conditioner for overnight.
Right.
One of the nice things about them, as we've said before, is they tailor the system to what you think you need. But as we've seen a few times, some of our friends have gotten a system and they're like, you know what, this is so good, I want to go beyond, and they upgrade.
Yeah.
So the systems are flexible, they're reliable, they work with you to develop a system that will work for your camping style. And if that happens to change, like friends of ours who are now full-timers as of last week.
Yeah.
No worries. They can get you all fixed up. So if that's the kind of reliable, dependable, flexible system that will suit your camping style, you could give our friends at ABC Upfitters a call at 574-333-3225.
That's 574-333-3225, or use the link in the show notes or this QR code, wherever it happens to be, for some more information on our website about ABC Upfitters.
Yeah, we have all kinds of interviews and information there. And of course, you can always give them a call. It's always the same people. It has been for years. They're reliable and they answer the phone and they can answer your questions. So good people, good product, and a great situation.
Well, today we are going to introduce to you our friend from the Pacific Northwest, Brooks Smothers. Brooks has a podcast called RV Out West, and we asked him to kind of give us some highlights. As we said during the interview, if he told us everything, then he wouldn't have to have a podcast. But he gave us some of the big highlights, and we actually enjoyed talking to Brooks so long that I think that probably you'll only hear half of the interview today, and you'll hear the other half next week. When I get into the editing part, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But very potentially, it'll just end. And if it just ends and it doesn't seem like it actually ended, then it's because we're gonna pick it right back up next week where I leave off.
That's the fact, Jack. If you don't know, we really enjoy listening to podcasts as we motor about this fine land here. And one of the podcasts that we enjoy is RV Out West. And we have the good fortune of having the host of that podcast, Brooks Smothers, with us here to share some tips and tricks for RVing out west. Brooks, welcome.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I am really looking forward to talking to you, Tony and Peggy, as I also listen to StressLess Camping as well.
Oh.
Well, that's fantastic, I think.
It is. It's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's good for us, whether it's good for you or not. Who knows?
Hey,
yeah, that's
good.
true. First of all, let's talk about RV Out West. Tell us, for the people who don't listen yet, tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So RV Out West is a podcast that is all about really RVing around the Pacific Northwest. So, and in that, I kind of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and British Columbia. So I kind of talk a bit about destinations, places to go, things you might want to check out, an adventure that maybe isn't RV related, but to give you some fun background on a particular region of the area that might be of interest. So when you're there, I was like, oh, I remember this. So we just kind of talk about the Pacific Northwest and it being a really wonderful RV destination. And I know it's on a lot of people's bucket lists, and for good reason, but there's also a lot of other really cool things to see in the area, even if we take out of the equation what I call kind of the big four, right? The Crater Lake, Mount Rainier, Olympic National Park, and the North Cascades National Park. Even if you remove those four from your to-do lists when you're here, there's still so much other cool stuff to see.
Right, because that would only make 4 episodes of RVing Out West, and then you wouldn't have anything else to talk about.
Right, I'd be done. It was a great 4 weeks.
Podcast.
Yeah. So let's define the Pacific Northwest for anybody who just landed on the planet and they're like, okay, what? Tell me, where is your area of focus, I guess?
Sure. So I am a Washingtonian, born and raised in Washington State. In my late 20s and early 30s, I spent a decade away traveling and exploring and doing things. Ended up getting married in that 10 years away. And then the wife and I were kind of figuring out, as she was finishing up grad school, what were some next steps and places we wanted to end up at to kind of do the sticks and bricks and get a mortgage and start a family. And we agreed to settle on Washington State. So we've now been here since 2000. I've been home now since 2010 is when we moved here. The Pacific Northwest, if you look at a map, I would call it the upper left corner of the United States of America. It's kind of, like I said, it's Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. I also personally add British Columbia into that because the geography and the geology of British Columbia is very similar to Washington State.
So you don't include Northern California?
No.
Which I guess is not really the Pacific. We are very familiar with Northern California.
That's California.
Yeah. And Northern California is beautiful and a great place to RV, but I don't, very few people I know would consider that part of the Pacific Northwest.
That's okay. I just, there's the official definition and then how we look at this, I guess. So I've been listening intently to RV Out West just so I could be more informed. And one of the things you talked about recently are 3 must-see wonders in each state.
Yes.
Now you can go back, y'all audience people can go and find that specifically, but maybe we could start there.
Sure, we can tease that. Before we kind of dig into that, I'm going to quickly give a different sort of geographic lesson. And then if I trail off, my Adderall has worn off at this point, so you might need to bring me back. But if you were to make, for the sake of this conversation, let's make Seattle the epicenter of kind of the Pacific Northwest. And if you were to spiral out from the Pacific Northwest in any one kind of given direction, all within a 4-hour distance, drive time, you have the rugged, wild, violent coast of the Pacific Northwest, which is stunning and beautiful. You have an amazing temporal rainforest. There is only 5 temperate rainforests on the planet, and one is in Washington State, which is where home of Olympic National Park is. If you look to start to go to the east, you have the high alpine lakes and meadows of the Cascade Mountain Range. Once you get over the mountains, you have desert, arid, and then rolling wheat fields, wine country out by Spokane and rolling out east in that area. So you have rainforests and deserts and rivers and mountains and all of these very different kind of cool ecosystems to explore that are really all within about a 4-hour drive of Seattle. Pick a direction and go. I just kind of wanted to say that because I think it's really important for I've been to all 50 states, and each state is stunning and beautiful in their own right and have all of these wonderful and magnificent things that everybody should see. But I find that part of the geography of the Northwest is pretty unique to the Northwest.
The desert part really surprised us. We have just kind of driven through that area one time between southern Idaho and then to Northern California ultimately. But the amount of desert that we drove through really surprised me. I didn't think of Oregon and Washington as having desert at all.
Right. You get into eastern Oregon out by Bend and you're in this, it's high alpine. So I can't remember what the elevation of Bend is, but it's high. It's I want to say, I don't know, Google it, but I want to say it's 3,000 feet or something. It is not sea level. And so you've got these really cool alpine trees that are not the evergreen trees that you think about when you think about the Pacific Northwest. So it's just very different, and your drive can be a change as you're driving from one destination to another. You're going to see all sorts of very cool differences along the way.
Another area that surprised me years ago, I used to fancy myself a web designer, and I built a website for a B&B in Willamette, and they have a huge wine growing region up there.
They do. It's actually, well, yeah. So that area, it's down in McMinnville, which is kind of southeast of Portland, Oregon, in the Willamette Valley. And that area grows incredible grapes for like Pinot Noirs and all of these other wonderful wines. So if anybody's listening, they're a cork dork. The Pacific Northwest has a lot to offer in your wine tasting. So I would even recommend you go to Woodinville, Washington, because that's where there is a bunch of tasting rooms, because all of the wineries are east of the mountains. And so Woodinville has all of the tasting rooms, so you can go. And if you're not careful, and there's nothing worse than being drunk on red wine, it really is rough. And so if you're not careful and you're like, oh, let's go to 4 wineries because there's one here, one here, one here, and you can just walk and hit 4 and you've done tastings, you're potentially, 8 glasses of wine in
Done for the day.
an hour. And you're like, whoa. So
Yeah, and the worst thing to me is the headache of red wine.
yeah,
the next
I'm going to blame
day.
that on the small fight.
You're like, oh man, why didn't I just drink beer?
Yep. But to your original question about 3 kind of unique geological formations, in that episode I talk about the Palouse Falls, which are down in kind of southeastern Washington, and it's a magnificent, beautiful waterfall. And in fact, I just was reading sometime in the last 4 months, a new record had been set, and a kayaker shot the waterfall.
Oh my.
I heard you say that.
Yeah, one of the tallest waterfalls in the lower 48, and somebody did it in a kayak. Crazy.
I assume intentionally?
Yes,
yeah.
full intent, working to set a record, and, big cojones, I would say.
That had to have happened after he's like, hey, you guys, watch this.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer.
I'm done wine tasting. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I got this.
Four wineries in, you're
Yep,
like,
4 wineries.
I
I
got
can
this
do that.
kayak.
Yep. But the Palouse Falls is beautiful. In Oregon, there's a spot I've always wanted to go. I do a lot of photography, and there is a place called Painted Hills in the John Day National Forest in kind of eastern Oregon. That is, from the pictures I've seen, it is just beautiful. And if you go a couple days after a storm, and it's like layered limestone and kind of, so you kind of get that. Anyway, it looks beautiful. So there's just kind of a lot of those different things to see around the area.
And obviously you guys have big cities, but your, I guess, less populated areas are fairly rural, I'm going to say, from my memory of going up there, but that was years ago. Mm-hmm. And,
You're correct.
And so you get the whole like natural forest, not overcrowded vibe from what I remember.
Correct. If you go over the mountains to eastern Washington or eastern Oregon, you're going to get where it's going to be more quiet, less people. The population density is really centered, at least in Washington State, around the Seattle, Tacoma, greater kind of market area there that is where the population, for the most part, is in the state.
RVing, I assume, is, you wouldn't be doing a podcast about it if it were not so great. So do you have any places that you might recommend for people, like, sort of hub that they could go and see some cool stuff?
Absolutely. If you're a water person and you want to see kind of, the ocean and those areas, a lot of people, right, want to go and see the Oregon coast. And that's on a lot of people's lists. But at the kind of, I would say, depending on if you're traveling north or south, at the start or at the terminus of that trip, depending on which direction you're going, is this really cool town called Astoria, Oregon. And Astoria is on the map because everybody who's probably definitely driving age has seen the movie Goonies, and Goonies was filmed in Astoria, Oregon. Kindergarten Cop was filmed there, and so was the Free Willy series. But Astoria kind of gives me this like New England fishing boat, port town kind of vibe, except it's not New England houses, but it's a port town. And so it's got a lot of really cool breweries and fun restaurants and really great seafood because they're catching it right out front and bringing it to the table. So you can't get any fresher than that. It's kind of where the mouth of the Columbia River, and the Columbia River is kind of the defining line between the state line between Oregon and Washington. Mm-hmm. And so Astoria is kind of right there at the mouth of the Columbia. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful, really cool area that you can spend a few days there. And there's hikes and go to the beach and there's a lot of places you can camp there. If you're a state park camper, there's Fort Stevens State Park. Just across the street from Fort Stevens State Park is the KOA Astoria, which is a resort designated KOA. So it's on that higher end of full. So if you're a family wanting all of the amenities and the bouncing pillow and all of that kind of stuff, then you got the KOA across the street. So Astoria's got a lot of really, really cool stuff. If you head inland from Astoria, drive through Portland, Oregon, and start going out, backtracking kind of the way Lewis and Clark came, you'll end up in Hood River. And Hood River is right on the Columbia River. Again, a great springboard for hiking, for paddling, for finding, lakes to go to. It's also a cool food town, so if you like to go out and eat and do all of that, Hood River is really, really cool. And then from Hood River, you can even go up and over the mountains and get into Bend. So you could kind of do like a backwards L and go Astoria, Hood River, and into Bend, and then work your way south to go to Crater Lake and into California, if that's a direction you wanted to go. In southern Oregon is a really cool town called Ashland. It's right as you cross in from the state line from California. And Ashland's got some cool hot springs and some other things you can see and do. But also, if you're a theater buff, Ashland has the famous Shakespeare Festival, which is actually really special and really something that even if I'm not a huge fan of Shakespeare. I read him in school because I had to. But going to the Shakespeare Festival is still something that I think people should do because it's pretty remarkable.
You would say that it's a tough decision to see or not to see.
Oh, boy.
That is the question.
You know what, Tony? I'm going to go yes. I think you're right, and I'm going to just leave it right there. Tony with the dad joke. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a solid one, too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Bend is really cool. Also, you have Mount Bachelor in Bend. So if you're a skier or a snowboarder or a mountain biker, Bend has a lot of places. Bend is very outdoorsy for, again, paddling, hiking, floating down the Deschutes River in the summer, skiing in the winter. And it's a great beer town too. I can see a theme here.
Yeah. There we go. Now we're floating up my own river.
Yeah. Tony wants to talk beer. I just want to ask real quickly, in Oregon and in Washington, are state park campgrounds dry camping non-hookup?
No.
That was our experience in California. And then as we started actually doing more traveling and getting out into different states and finding out that not all state parks are dry camping. So
no, both Oregon and Washington state parks are really jewels of each state. They, I would say the most of them for RV spots, you'll definitely get water and electric. You might not get dump in your site. There'll be a dump station within the campground, but there are state parks that do also have the full hookups with water, sewer, and electric.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the state parks are great, and they're on a rolling 9-month calendar. So when you need to book them, you really kind of depending on the popularity of the state park you're looking at, you will want to be 7 o'clock in the morning with a cup of coffee, ready to rock and book your dates 9 months out.
Okay, that's good to know, because some places I've found have kind of become more widely available, but not all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, so since you forced me to talk about beer,
Yeah, rough call.
there are some great breweries up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, there are.
Any favorite? Well, there's always, like, my favorite might not be someone else's favorite, because we all have a different. In fact, we were just spending time with the Roman with Rosie people, and she was asking me, to help her pick beers. And the first question is, what do you like? What style do you like? Because there's no one answer.
One of my favorite breweries actually is in Astoria, and it's called Fort George. And Fort George does some great beers, good and really good pub food. And years ago, I was there, years ago, a decade ago. And Peggy, they made a wasabi ginger ale. And it was unbelievable. It was non-alcoholic, and it was incredible. I even reached out to them one time and said, hey, I'm going to be down in Astoria. One time I was there, you guys had this really amazing wasabi ginger ale. It was like spicy from the wasabi, but then you get kind of the sweet from the ginger ale, and it was delicious. And they're like, yeah, that was a one-off. And I go, oh. And it was so good. So good.
It drives me nuts when they do that.
Yeah.
Those are the most memorable, isn't it? It's like so frustrating. Like, oh, this was the best thing I ever had in my whole life.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we don't make that.
We'll put all our effort into this, and it's going to be great, but you can only have one glass. Yep. Like, how many times have we been to breweries and they're like, well, I'm sorry, you can only have one glass of that because it's limited. Yeah, but it's the best thing you have.
Right.
Actually, when we were in Utah, in Colville, a couple weeks ago, and our friends had told us to go to a brewery and get their chocolate stout. And we went there, and they no longer have chocolate stout, but they had coconut stout, and that was
it was
perfectly
so good.
fine substitution.
Nice. Okay, good.
Yeah, but then they're like, no, you can't take this home in a crowler or a growler. I'm like, oh, man, have a fridge.
In Hood River, I love Freem. Freem does a lot of wild Pfriem, Freem.
Huh.
Okay.
And they do really interesting beers. I had a sour IPA one time there that it was delicious, and I can't find it anywhere else. And I don't know if they're, might have been a one-off, but they do a lot of really fun experimental, just playing with styles and whatever. They make some really interesting beers.
Oh, man, that's fantastic.
And Bend is a beer town. There's like a craft brewery on every corner. So, you can't go wrong there in Bend.
Oh, another thing that is up there, kind of unrelated, Leavenworth.
It's on my list.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I should probably let you go through your list.
No, I don't have to go through my list. I love a natural flow of conversation. I just jot my list down to keep me focused.
That is a place that we so want to go to.
Yeah, for years and years and years, we've been talking about going there. We just have not made it to that corner of the U.S. yet.
Well, any way you go, you will more than likely come through Leavenworth, because you really have Highway 2, which is what Leavenworth is on, or Interstate 90 if you're looking to jam and hammer down the miles. But Highway 2 is the prettier driving to bring you right through Leavenworth. Leavenworth, if nobody's ever been, is this wild faux Bavarian town that it was a railroad town. And then, way back in the days, and tourism was going down because the railroad had already been built, and there was they didn't have railroad workers coming to, stay in the hotels and do whatever. So somebody was like, on the city council was like, we should do this like fake Bavarian thing.
Yeah.
And so they did it strictly as a tourist idea, and everything in town, from the local Shell gas station to the Safeway to anything else, has all these kind of gaudy, fun, fake Bavarian, architecture. if you
I
will.
had no idea it was fake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought it was that a lot of German settlers happened to
Nope.
be there.
No. It was tourism, and like I want to say in the 1950s they did this.
Okay.
It was somewhat recent in the course of overall history of the state that Leavenworth kind of took on this Bavarian.
How fun.
There's some great hikes. The KOA there is an amazing KOA. It's also owned by the same people who own the Astoria one. So that KOA is really great, and it's right in town. And they have a free shuttle, and there's wine tasting and beers and pretzels in town. So you take the free shuttle, and you don't have to worry about getting back to camp.
Yeah, and they have an Oktoberfest that they do there.
They do. I've not been because it sounds crazy.
That's my kind of thing. Someday I'll call you and go, hey, Brooks,
and I'll meet you.
We're going to Oktoberfest. And
sounds great.
I'll bring my big beer stein and lederhosen.
Okay, there you go. Do you want me to go and drag as like the St. Pauli girl?
I'm sure. Why not?
Brooks suddenly says, "Oh, I think I'm busy that week."
Yeah. Oh, wait, never mind. And I know that's not going to get cut now. So
no.
But Leavenworth is a really fun area. There's another interesting place in eastern Washington, and it's in the Mattawa Valley, and it's called Winthrop. And then right next to Winthrop is another little town called Twisp. And Winthrop, their vibe is kind of 1900s horse wild west kind of theme. So the saloons with the double doors, you want to walk in with your 2 6-shooters on your hips and be like, hey, somebody's playing cards at a table.
The music stops.
Yeah, so that's kind of their vibe. They have a fun blues festival. So if anybody likes blues music, they have a summer blues, week-long blues festival. A great place to stay out there is Lake Peregrine State Park. It's a great state park right on a lake, so you can go swimming from your campsite and do all of that. But what makes Twisp really interesting is Twisp is home of the Smokejumpers school. And I believe they have tours. They did at least pre-COVID, where you could go and kind of learn more about what it means to be a smoke jumper. If you're not familiar, these are our first responders to a wildfire, and they parachute into a wildfire with a chainsaw and a shovel and an axe and get to work trying to cut lines and clear debris so the wildfire doesn't jump a line, so they can work to try to contain it. So these people parachute into wildfires.
Wow.
It's having lived in fire country, the efforts of these firefighters is just unbelievable, including the smoke jumpers. It's
awesome.
I never realized that a bulldozer was such an important piece of firefighting equipment.
Right.
But it is.
Especially in wildland firefighting. Absolutely it is. But if you can't get in there because the wildfire is still, 17 miles from a Forest Service road, and you need to get in there to try to contain it, you're parachuting into a wildfire.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah. And as you said, a shovel and a chainsaw.
Yep.
It's nuts.
Yep.
So they had tours or showed?
Yeah, so there's the school there where they do the training. And so I believe, and if people are listening and are like, this sounds like something they want to see, just Google it and do your own research on the Smoke Jumper School in Twisp, Washington. They did used to offer tours. I haven't checked kind of what their post-COVID policies are now, if they're even brought that back post-COVID. So I don't know. So just do your own research, but they did back in the day.
All right. So that was so good. We are going to end it here, and you can come back next week and rejoin us as Brooks tells us even more about the adventures in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Well, we always like to share some good things with you. And this week we have been working like fools on our website. And you might look at it and go, well, it looks the same as it always did. And yeah, it kind of does.
For the most part, it will look the same. It's not going to be significantly different. But if you have had, as we have had, a certain detest of the pop-up ads that sometimes show up, we want you to know, first of all, we do not authorized pop-up ads. We set them up as inline sorts of ads, and then suddenly Google decides to start popping them up, and then Tony has to go in and remind them that that's not what we're looking for. So we just got kind of tired of that.
Yeah, and it's invasive, and they use tracking cookies and things like that. So we basically booted Google from our website. Yeah. As somebody said, it's a big hit for us initially, but we are working to find people who will buy ads, and there will only be ads from companies that we support and like.
Yeah.
Like ABC Upfitters, for example,
right.
or whoever it happens to be.
Right.
The ads will be in the articles and places like that, but you will not see pop-ups. You will not see things that it's like, whoa, that's kind of weird. I don't have to keep fighting them to turn off political nonsense or
lingerie ads that have nothing to do with anything to do with camping.
So we have elected to see how this works. Mm-hmm. And I think it's more secure for you because there's no tracking cookies to worry about. And I think it'll be better overall. And so our website is our ad for this week. And hopefully you'll continue to get value. If you look at the website, if you go on whatever, smartphone or computer, the first few tiles are the main headers, but then there are collections of articles after that. Mm-hmm. And there's things like towing, buying a new RV, internet for RVers.
Yeah, boondocking tips and recipes.
And all of that.
All those different kinds of collections.
Collections,
so they're kind
we
of
call them.
Merged into headers.
Yeah. With that, if you are on any social media channel and you see somebody ask I'm buying a new RV or I want to tow an RV, we really, really appreciate if you go find one of those collections and just share it there because they're all vetted information. They are hopefully good information, and it'll make you look so smart and so beautiful and smell better. And your hair will grow back.
Relax,
all right, maybe not. Or in the end, maybe none of those things. But anyway, it's there for you to share, and hopefully is good value for you.
But talk about maybe not smelling better, but looking good. Aren't we looking good in our new shirts today?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. New shirts, new hats.
So we do work with a company called Printful. There's a link on our website called, Logo Gear or something. Now, don't look too closely at this because we bought these as samples, and we realized we made a couple of errors. You may remember that a few months ago, Tony designed a new logo. So it's a little bit different than it used to be. And then he went in through the Printful and changed the logo. But, we have like specific colors and Printful says choose from these colors. So we had to kind of guess. And so there are a couple things that we've already changed. So if you go in now and look, you'll see the logo that looks a little more like the logo on the website. And I got to say that I am quite impressed with these polo shirts.
Yeah, I like them.
I'm really liking them.
They're 60-40, I think.
Or 65-35.
Yeah, cotton polyester. I like the material. I'm kind of picky about these, even though I normally just wear a t-shirt. I like the position of the logo. So I've been very pleased. But there are hats like this. Mm-hmm. There are baseball caps.
There are socks.
There's socks and cups and tumblers.
Phone covers.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
So we appreciate if you want to, wear our gear or show off our gear. I know that like Dan has had a phone cover since the very first time we made phone covers. Now, of course, he needs a new one because it's got a new logo on it.
Yep.
Perhaps he has a new phone already. I don't know. But he was one of the first people to buy a phone cover. So anyway, if you are interested in some logo gear, just know that it's been updated just as our website has. And you can go and do some shopping.
Yeah. Spend your money.
If you listen all the time to the podcast and you want to watch this video, it's on YouTube. What is it again? Oh, yeah. Goofy USA.
We're talking about Shields Date Gardens in Coachella Valley.
Yeah. Tony had mentioned earlier that he took the travel trailer for some maintenance.
Yep.
And we thought, since we're doing this maintenance, this is probably a good time to remind all of you to do the similar maintenance if it's time for you.
Yeah. Sometimes people use it at the beginning or end of a season. But what I'm talking about is having the wheel bearings maintained on a travel trailer or fifth wheel. Unlike a car, they do require regular maintenance, but a lot of full-size pickups will actually track the miles on your trailer. I know our truck does. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, we picked this trailer up in November. It's already got over 12,000 miles just since then.
Yikes.
And that's about the time that on ours, it's a Dexter axle. They say, well, you should really inspect it and re-grease the bearings. And a lot of trailers have a provision to like a quick grease provision, or you can just add grease and it pushes out the old grease. But we choose, especially the first time, to have it actually serviced, where they take the wheel off and they take the brake drum off and they look at the whole system to make sure there's nothing troublesome happening in there, and properly grease the bearings.
Right. So that's one of the concerns with doing the quick grease thing, is that you're not getting in there and looking at what's inside. You don't see the brake drums and stuff. And so, even Dexter, I think, had recommended to us, check it the first year, maybe check it the second year. And then if you're not having a problem, then you might do a quick thing once in a while. But, you want to keep an eye on what's going on inside, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just good to know. It's easier to eliminate troubles when you're not 1,000 miles from home than it is. Anyway, that's our recommendation, is
you're
to
not
have
1,000 miles away from home, and it's not the only place you have to live.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because the reason he took it today to the place what's going to do the work is it could be a couple weeks, which we don't really have before we get it back. So people aren't just going to drop everything and do this for you.
No, because RV service, as you know, is backlogged. And I was very fortunate that they said, because it's just wheel bearings, we will fit you in. But they're busy folks. So as I always say, if you know somebody who is looking for a job and might have some inclination of which end of the screwdriver to hold, there are some great opportunities to become a certified RV tech.
Well, last week we didn't ask a question of the week because we ran out of time. But the week before that, we were talking about some of our favorite campgrounds, and we asked you what makes a campground great to you. Yeah,
this was a really good interaction with a lot of you, because we each have different priorities, and so as always, at our fun and friendly StressLess Campers Facebook group, people really weigh in on some neat topics. They ask some great questions, and it's your chance to be surrounded by like-minded campers.
Right.
So go see what folks are excited
looking for
about
in a campground.
Yeah.
And thanks to everyone else who's really interacting with making your own posts, like Linda and Brian. We see them post a lot in the StressLess Campers group, and that's what it's for. It's not just to answer these questions.
Oh, no. No, if you have an RV-related question, please feel encouraged to go there.
Or a fun thing to share.
Yeah, fun thing to share. Yeah. It's as long as you're, fun and friendly and all of that, that's what we're looking for. So anyway, thank you to those of you who are part of our little digital family.
So this week, because we were talking to Brooks, and we'll be talking to Brooks probably again next week, I wanted to ask you, do you have any great tips for visiting the Pacific Northwest? Now, what I think will be interesting is if you say, Brooks hit the nail like that. He talked about my absolute favorite place. But even more fun might be if you answer with an answer that you haven't heard from Brooks yet, and you're going to hear it next week.
Yeah,
and I think that'll be fun to see if people say, the blah, blah, blah. And then next week Brooks says, the blah, blah, blah.
And of course, if you've listened to Brooks' podcast,
Right. You might already have some idea.
He talked about that. Well, anyway, should be fun. And that is why we have our fun and friendly Stressless Campers Facebook group.
That's right. And you know that we also have a once a week newsletter.
Is it free?
It's free. And you know what? It has stories and videos and podcasts and things that we think will help you get the most of your RV experience.
Yeah, and just about every page has a newsletter sign-up form. Know that we would never share your information with anybody, and we only send one email a week, period, end of story, because we're lazy.
Yeah, we just don't have time for more than that.
We're buying our own shirts instead.
That's right. So you will find the show notes for this episode 316 on the podcast page at stresslesscamping.com, which is also where you will find our favorite RVs, products, services, and logo gear for things that you need on your stressless camping adventure, like a bucket hat to keep the sun off your head.
That's right. And of course, we are in all the social places, but you can start at stresslesscamping.com, and there's links to all the places that we're probably wasting time just like you are.
Right. So for you audio listeners, if you don't want to miss a future episode of the Stressless Camping Podcast, it's also free to subscribe on any podcast catcher. And we are saving you a seat around our virtual campfire.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to be notified of our podcast and all of that when they get released, you can hit that bell notification.
Do you need a second to find those?
Oh,
give them a second. Find them. They're right down here somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Now back to us.
Did you read something that you liked on our website, maybe?
Yeah, or maybe heard something here that you liked or agreed with or didn't think was terrible?
It is free and easy to share what you find on our website or in our social posts or on our podcast. All you need to do is copy that link and paste it in your own social network or hand out business cards at the grocery store or hire a Skyrider.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Can you imagine StressLessCamping.com?
Yeah. That's plain great.
Yeah. If you need help to know like how to actually share and you're not going to hire a Skyrider, we do have tips on the website.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had a date that I could share with you, but I don't because...
How about September? Do you remember?
21st of September.
No, okay.
Oh gosh, we are not singers, as you could probably tell. A few of you have probably like, wow, why can't I be deaf? But anyway, we appreciate that you're here with us every week for over 300 episodes, over 7 years. My word, it's quite the adventure. In fact, you know what it is?
It's
Stressless Camping. All right, let's go have a date shake.